Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video. And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the June 14th, 2022 primary elections and my predictions for this evening. And yeah, we're just going to get right into it here with this list composed by Ballotpedia. They have a full list of all the primaries happening today, but I'm going to be focusing on the battlegrounds because some of these just aren't interesting and aren't worth talking about. So we're going to get right into it here with the Nevada Republican U.S. Senate primary between Sam Brown and Adam Laxalt. These other candidates are kind of irrelevant. They're not really worth talking about. But yeah, so Adam Laxalt is definitely the favorite for this primary. When you take a look at the polling data in this primary, he's ahead in every poll. Sam Brown's always in second, but Laxalt holds a 21-point lead in the composite data. The most recent poll has him up by 14. There has been some narrowing up because the first polling we saw had him up by 28, 23%, 24%. So, the fact that it's gone from 20s to teens now is pretty good for Sam Brown, but I don't think it's enough. He kind of is running out of time here. Laxalt has the Trump endorsement, and yeah, while Sam Brown does have the Nevada GOP endorsement, I think most Republican voters in this primary care more about Trump than what the state GOP says anyways. So I would expect Laxalt to win this primary by a pretty comfortable amount. Now, going over to the 1st District in Nevada, this is a Democratic primary between incumbent Dina Titus and then Amy Villella, who's a more progressive challenger. So, in 2020, obviously, CZ Lee is the incumbent that's the 3rd District, not the 1st District. I pulled up the wrong tab. But anyways, I don't really need to do it anyways. But for the 1st District, Dina Titus is the incumbent. In 2020, she won by, I think, 4%. She's certainly popular within the district. She ran ahead of Biden, I believe, by a little bit, and she's perfectly capable of winning this primary. I believe, Villella ran before against Stephen Horsford in a primary back in 2018, but really, to be completely honest, I don't really think that she has as good of a chance this time around. She has some momentum, but really what we've seen, the consensus is that she's going to lose this primary. And this district I just don't think is as progressive as it would need to be for Villella to beat out Dina Titus. So if you're a progressive who wants to knock off more incumbent Democrats, I think you might want to look elsewhere because this primary should not. I would be surprised if it flips. 3rd District GOP primary to unseat Susie Lee. Becker is favored. I don't really know much about this race, but from what I've heard, April Becker is the favorite. She's most well known, and I think she will likely win. So next up, we've got the 4th District GOP primary between Annie Black, Chance Bonaventura, and Sam Peters. I don't really know much about this primary. This is, again, a seat that, will probably, in all honesty, not be that interesting. It'll be competitive, but Horsford, I think, is favored for right now. And, yeah, I from what I've heard, Annie Black is favored, but I don't really know much about this primary. So, more importantly, though, we've got the 1st Congressional District GOP primary between Nancy Mace and Katie Arrington. And this is, I think, a little overrated for its competitiveness. I really think Nancy Mace is going to win, and I'll tell you why. So, first of all, the crime that Mace committed to be primaried to the right by Arrington is that she split from the GOP for like 4 days after the Capitol insurrection and said, she criticized her party, but she criticized Trump. And then after that, she kind of went back to the partisan Republican rhetoric that we're more used to from her. And now, she's been a partisan Republican. She's criticized Biden. She's, pretty right-wing, in all honesty, but she's still getting primaried from the right by Katie Arrington, who, again, is using the type of rhetoric we usually see. Like, she's a rhino. She is not pro-Trump enough. She's not America first, etc. And so that might work better in other districts, like, in more Trumpy districts, but this is a seat where Donald Trump, in 2020 he ran ahead, but this is but that was because Mace was running against Joe Cunningham, who was a Democratic incumbent. Like, when you look at the district for face value, it's still quite conservative. It's, a little less Trumpian, it's more suburban, it's more wealthy, it's more kind of older, more just typical conservative Republicans, and I think that bodes well for Mace. There is some movement nationwide against the more moderate breed of Republicans, but I think Mace will survive, albeit by still not a great margin for her. So now in the 7th District here against Tom Rice actually did vote for impeachment in 2020, and we can actually look at some polling right now to just see where he's at, but he is Nancy Mace is, right now, I think in a good spot. I think the rice might be cooked in South Carolina, and I'll tell you why. So when you look at this Trafalgar poll, and again, I don't love Trafalgar. They're usually not that great of a polling source, but credit where credit's due. They do give they do a lot of polls, so they're dedicated. They're on the polling grind, I guess you could say. But this is the only poll we have really. So what I will say is that I do expect this number to be a little inflated for Russell Fry. I don't think that he's going to win by a margin as big as, around this is a 17.5% margin of victory. I do not think that he's going to win by that much. What I will say is that I think he's favored. I think Tom Rice is not going to be super good, because this district to me is more Trumpy really, and I think that the electorate that's going to show up for this race is going to want to unseat Tom Rice because he's been hammered as a rhino. They're saying that he's someone who isn't a true Republican, that he is not capable of standing up to the Democrats, etc. And so I think that bodes well for Russell Fry, and I think Fry is going to fry Rice. Now, this is an interesting race here. So this is a general election, not a primary. And general elections, as we know, are always more interesting than primaries. Not always, but in districts like this, they are. So we've got 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, so there won't be too many vote splits, but we will likely see a kind of, not kind of, but we will see a runoff, and right now the top 2 candidates are Mayra Flores and Dan Sanchez. Dan Sanchez is the Cameron County Commissioner, so he's not a bad candidate, but Mayra Flores is likely a better candidate. She's a more moderate Hispanic Republican who I think knows how to appeal to this district, but let's take a look at the polling we've got here in any manner. So anyways, ROH Elections did a poll on this race, and so this isn't so I don't love this poll, and I'll explain why in a second, but yeah, the GOP are probably going to win this race. So it's this poll. So the bottom line you can get here is that Flores is up by 9 over Dan Sanchez, and then when you combine the parties, the Democrats are at about 41%, the Republicans are at 46%. So, about what you'd expect. This is a narrow Biden district. This is under the old line, so it's a race you'd expect to trend to the right. And I do think the GOP are going to win this race. But the reason this poll is weird is because they had Biden at 50% approval and 38% disapproval, which makes no sense, because there's no way a seat that approves of Biden with 12% would vote for a Republican. If Biden's at 12% approval in a seat, the Democrats are winning it by 30 points. It's that simple. So there's no way that Biden's up by 12 and the Democrats are losing this race. But the reason that this poll is kind of funny is because RH the next day tweeted, they clarified, well, actually, guys, are bad because the question was ambiguous and it didn't make any sense and there was a mistranslation, etc. And so we kind of messed up, so you can kind of forget the Biden approval number, but the poll still stands. So in all likelihood, the Biden approval number isn't real. He's not actually plus 12 in this district. He's probably a little underwater. I don't know by how much. I can't really make a guess for this district because we don't know enough about it. But yeah, Biden's not plus 12. If he was, the Democrats would be winning this race easily. But yeah, so Flores is up by 9. This poll's still a number we can look at, though, although this, as we know, this pollster isn't great. But the point being, so Dan Sanchez will likely come in second. I think Flores will get a little less of the vote. I think she'll get around 40%. Sanchez will get this amount. So I think Flores wins by 6 or 7 outright on election day. We go to a runoff, and Flores wins the runoff by somewhere 5%. This district should be pretty competitive, but I do think it's going to trend to the more towards the GOP. So yeah. Now let's just go and kind of try to get through this video. So this race will be interesting to watch. But yeah. So I think that's it for this video. If you want a list of winners, we'll do it right now. Sanchez advances to a runoff with Flores ahead. Tom Rice loses to Russell Fry. Nancy Mace beats Katie Arrington. April Becker should win this primary. Dina Titus beats Amy Villella. And then Sam Brown loses to Adam Laxalt, and Laxalt runs against Cortez Masto. So, yeah, that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next video.